This moves us on to Harry Maguire quite nicely. The media today are sort of talking about Maguire, and they're speaking about essentially, is he being abused and bullied by Man United fans and fans online? And you sit there and go, I think a lot of people are angry with him. I certainly was in the summer. I said that I called him greedy based on the story that the mainstream media told us, all of them, by the way, TalkSport, Sky, all of them, that he didn't accept the pay that West Ham offered him because he was about 100 grand or less a week at Man United. So based on nearly every mainstream media outlet printing that story, I believed it to be true. I was frustrated. The media are now saying fans are wrong for being angry about that, even though it was them that misreported. They got the story wrong, and that's it. So now we know the truth that he didn't do that. I won't criticize him for being money hungry anymore. So fans are allowed to be angry about things with the information they receive. When that information changes, if you persist with that, with what you now know not to be true, then I would agree it's abuse. But at the end of the day, when Sir Alex Ferguson said Rooney handed in a transfer request, and 8 months later said I actually got it wrong, he didn't, you can't blame people for hating on Wayne Rooney because they only did it based on what Sir Alex Ferguson told them. That's very different, in my opinion.
Look, the world is very clickbait. The world is very clickbait. We read something, we believe it. We read something, we believe it. Someone writes something else, we pivot and we change our mind. And that's always been the way of life. The thing for me is there's a huge difference between not rating a player. For example, I get this all the time with Richarlison, who I think is a very, very bad footballer, like a really, really bad footballer. But if I say that, you're abusing him. It's an agenda. I've never understood that one, Terry. You know, when you have an opinion on someone and it's, your agenda. What I want, for example, obviously, you know, I'm Spurs. I want every Spurs player to be the best player in the world. Why would I want a Spurs player, for example, to be bad? Why would I want Richarlison to be bad? I want Richarlison to put on those Spurs boots and score a hat-trick every week. Right? But he doesn't, and he's not very good. We've got to that stage, though, where the media can say what they want, right? We then all react off that, and then it's, oh my God, it's bullying. Bullying is if I turn around, and I'll keep using the Richarlison scenario. If I turn around and went, oh God, I hate him. I hate Brazilians. I hate people with stupid chicken celebrations. I hate people that die there. Right? If I started doing all that, yeah, it's bullying, right? I'm talking about him like you probably do with footballers. I'm talking about their ability. Harry Maguire. Is Harry Maguire a nice guy? I have no idea. He could be the nicest guy in the world. Is he a good footballer? Not for me. Doesn't mean I hate him. Doesn't mean if I sat down with him for a meal that we wouldn't be able to find some common ground and have a good chat about life. I just don't rate players. And I think that's the key thing here. But you're right. The media say one thing. Everyone reacts to it, and then it's, oh my God, look what fans are doing. Well, don't spout that nonsense then. But clickbait, Terry. Everyone wants to get their story out first. So tomorrow morning, right? Tomorrow morning, type in, for you for Man United, type in Man United transfer news into the internet, right? And find one story that is, I don't know, just for example, Man U after Ivan Toney, right? You watch 30, 40, 50, 60, 70 different publications on the internet have all run with their own version of that story because everyone, who can get it out fastest. It doesn't matter about the facts. Sources say, we have heard. That's the world now, right? That's the world. You can't have it both ways.
And I understand that. And that's why the media today with this whole, oh my God, like Harry didn't do that. Beckham's reached out to him. He suffered so much abuse. The way fans have treated him is horrendous. And I'm sitting there thinking, but you guys help perpetuate that. All your social media platforms, all your news articles, all your headlines feed into that. And fans get frustrated. Fans are angry. Fans are annoyed. But I do agree with you. Criticizing somebody is not abuse, ever. No. Unless they've got things going on. So, for instance, with everything that's been going on with Jadon Sancho, I have criticized the manager for talking out about it publicly. I think he shouldn't have done that. I've criticized Jadon Sancho's response. I've spoke about it a lot in the last few weeks. Even today and yesterday, there's been stories that he's basically not going to move. He's going to stay in the background because he thinks the manager might get sacked. And part of me goes, it's horrendous. But I've stopped talking about it and I said it on the stream. and said they're going after his personality too much. The media is going after his personality. People are going after his, who he hangs around with and what he does. And I'm not comfortable with this. So I'm going to step away from even criticizing him because I feel like throwing petrol on that fire isn't right at this moment in time. And I've done this at stages before. It's like, well, I've criticized this player 2 or 3 times. The manager's still playing him. We look at Rashford and Bruno at Man United right now. There comes a point soon where I'm going to stop focusing on their bad performances. And I'm going to look at the manager and say, hang on a minute. Hang on a goddamn minute. I've criticized these guys, but I can't keep saying the same thing every week if they don't improve. I'm going to move my criticism onto you. And some people online do have agendas. I'm not going to say they don't exist in our industry. Of course they do. Some people, a player can be great for a year and then he goes on a bad patch and then suddenly, I told you he was rubbish. And it's like, right, praise for 12 months and then you're straight on him again. And I'm a little bit more, I don't know, I find myself more of a traditionalist. If someone has a bad game, I'm annoyed at them. I could want someone at my club. And I've had that before. Anthony Martial, I think he's done at United. But the last 3 or 4 games, I think he's looked sharp and played well. So I praised him and said, well done. Because I don't have an agenda against him. I don't dislike him. I don't want him to fail. I just don't think long-term him and United is a good fit anymore. But when he plays and he does well, I'm going to cheer and I'm going to clap. But the world has become so polarized. And I understand all of that. But it's the way the media today have tried to pretend that they've played not a single hand. It was the media and pundits, by the way, when Maguire scored that goal a year or so ago and put his hand in his ears. It was the pundits and the newspapers that went at him. And then the fans went at him. Now suddenly, the fans are terrible for having a go at Maguire. We've always loved him and rated him. No, you haven't. You have fanned that flame for 2 years. If we all agree that he's been mistreated, let's just say we all agree on that for a moment, hypothetically. Let's not pretend that you've not played your part in this. It's kind of crazy to me. It's really crazy.
But you know what? One of the things that my mum always used to say to me when I was growing up, she always used to say, she didn't call me Sava, but Sava, two things can be true at once. And it's something that I think this generation completely forget. You're bang on. Your Anthony Martial analogy just there is perfect. You might not think he's a great player. You think he's done at the club. Doesn't mean you're not going to celebrate when he scores the winning goal in a game, right? 2 things can be true at once.
Yeah.
One performance doesn't... Listen, people are easily swayed, Terry. The opposite's what you just said. So you're saying players have a great year and then they have a bad couple of months and it's bad. It's the same the other way. People can be bad for a year. They have a couple of good games and it's, you're in the mud. This player's world class. And it's like, whoa, just like... No one's got, unfortunately, and it's strange because we make money out of the internet. It is the internet how it is now. People can't, if you were to look at comment sections of YouTube channels, whichever channel you're in, you've got really nice people that want to have a general chat, that want to just talk nicely. And then you've got those that can't stop being dickheads. And that's the way it is.
There might be a pun in this, but that's the truth. Do you know what I mean? That's
absolutely, absolutely. This is the problem. You get the people. So, for example, you go live. Right, I see it when I'm in your shows. You go live. You get loads of. You got 2.2 in here, K at the moment. Most of the people in the chat are just putting in nice things about football, right? Just talking football. You will get the handful, probably with a channel your size, 50, 60 people. That they can't stop wanting to be rude to somebody who's on the panel. They can't stop wanting to call you out, Terry, or me out, or whoever's on for anything that's said. And it don't matter if you say, you know what, it's Wednesday afternoon. Those people will find a way that you are wrong because there are people like that in life. 2 things can be true at once. And most people don't have agendas.
Most people don't have agendas. Where it is an agenda for me, is we had this last year with United. I know there are some United fans that don't rate Rashford, but when he was scoring almost every game and some of the goals were brilliant, some of the performances were great, they barely mention it at all. And then we have one bad game, so back to his usual self, top pot. It's like for me is abuse because you're hoping he does bad and you're angry that he's doing well and you're meant to be a Man United fan. That for me is an abusive way to look at things. There's players in this squad that I don't think are good enough for United or haven't hit the ground. But I can put my hand on my heart or my hand on my children's heart and swear on everything that every single game, I want none of them to foul. If they do well, I'm happy. I have no personal agenda. I have preferences of who I like more than the others based on what I like about football, but not Man United's success supersedes every single element of that. And I do think that part of football is dwindling. People have, it's either their own opinions they want to be right, or they prefer players over football clubs now. And we've seen this trend transcend from America, which happens a lot in basketball and the NFL and other sports. And it's transcended into football over the past 10 to 15 years. And it makes football conversations more difficult because people are so entrenched in, I want my player to be the star. I've seen people love a manager,
bang on.
football clubs love a manager until that manager and their favorite player at that club fall out, and then suddenly that manager becomes a piece of junk. And it's like, wow, that's crazy to me. But
listen, just quickly, what you're saying, it's spot on, right? I'll tell you what, I knew what I was doing by saying what I just said about the chat. I knew exactly what I was doing. And you know what? I knew because we talked about this beforehand, right? We won't mention names. We talked about this beforehand. I knew as soon as I dropped that in, certain people would react the way that I thought they would react. People that are like, just deal with it. It's online. I'm just pointing out facts. I can deal with it, right? It just makes me laugh how so many of these people, if you saw them in real life, Terry, if you saw these people in real life.
Did you see that? What they just said? Deal with it. It's online. This is what's crazy to me. And I don't know where this has come from. Being horrible and nasty online, it's in their troll world. It's like, this is just normal. It's the way it's meant to be.
Exactly.
It's like, I mean, for me, I just grew up in an era where I understand that violence is never the answer. And I understand that. And violence in 95% of the time, violence is wrong. Not always. There's sometimes where violence is needed. And listen, it's the truth. It's the truth. Someone comes and attacks you, you got to be violent back because you might get busted up, right? Sometimes it needs to happen and you're legally allowed to do it. However, I grew up in an area and an environment where if the stronger, fitter, smarter, cleverer, whatever kids were there, if you spoke to them in a way that was rude, you get a slap. So you didn't do it. You learned to you knew where you lived in that hierarchy. It's like, well, I'm not going to mouth off at him because he'll bust me up. So you just didn't do it. You just spoke with respect. Now, I think because it's online and there's generally no recourse. It's just, I can say what I want to who I want, when I want, because nothing is going to happen to me. That's what's created this environment. But it is what it is. It is what it is.
Listen, it's absolutely mad. Like, I love it. Whichever show I go on, I get the same trolls. And you know the beautiful thing about these trolls. Do you know how you just give them a slap if you ever saw them in person? Because all of them have got no bottle. You know, so like I do shows where I do fan call-in shows. And I'm always like, right, come on then. All the people that have been bigging it up, giving it to me. Sava's a dickhead. Sava's this. Sava's a twat. Sava can't take banter. Sava this. Cool, come on the chat. Come on the chat. Those people are always the ones, no, my camera don't work. Oh, no, I can't because I'm working right now. Well, you've been in the chat the whole time. Come on. Oh, no. Equally, they've got no real name, no real picture.
Let me just say those
very tough in chats. I'd love them to. I'd love to meet them out.
There's a few people here saying things like, "Don't go on YouTube." Then we're not saying it's wrong. We're not saying stop. What we're talking about is this is why the footballers get the shit they get online, because we're in this era where lots of people feel free to say whatever they want. What Maguire should really be being taught, and I've said this before, and people don't like this advice, but the people I've given it to that have followed it are like, "Wow, it works." Is ignore it and don't react. As soon as you say this type of criticism or this type of abuse, or when people say that it hurts me, more people do it because it's the era that we're in. If I was to tell people, if I was to say to people, oh, you know what, when people talk about my weight, it breaks me inside. Trust me, more people are going to start talking about it. If I start getting DM nasty messages about my weight, and then I screenshot those messages and put them online, going, oh my God, look how horrible people are being. More people do it. The best way to stop it is to laugh with it, joke with it, ignore it. It does go away to a much higher degree when you do it.
Do you know what? I don't mind most of it, right? I don't mind most of it. But in the last, I'll tell you what, right? Listen, and I'm not complaining about this. This is fine because these people would never ever dare turn up at my house, whatever. In the last month, Terry, I've had people messaging me, calling my wife a whore, right?
Oh.
Saying, right. I've had death threats sent to my house, right? I've had people saying they're going to come around to my house and whack me up, right? And and the best one of all is, oh, we're going to make sure you and your missus are split up, like one person's already said in your chat today. Now, do you know what? When it's football, cool. I'll invite anyone on. Come on and chat. When they get to that stage, unfortunately, they're the people that I think Danny Murphy, to be fair to him, when he's talking about football, yeah, he's aimed it at Mark Goldbridge. They're the people that are disgusting. They're the people in the world that ruin YouTube, that they ruin football for fans. These are the fans that, you know, when you go to the pub, back in the old day before YouTube, people have right banter, having a chat, rah, rah, rah. Now it's everyone's just so violent that you just have to laugh.
Yeah. These people wouldn't be in pubs, but Maradon here says, I don't understand why I complain. It is what it is. No one's complaining. We're explaining what it is and why it is. No one is complaining, Maradon. Calm yourself. Again, that is one. He's a troll. I like Maradon, though. Do you know why I like Maradon? Maradon watches everything I do, every single... You got to think, right? With the amount of content I make and stream, the hours, it works out about 3.5 hours a day. Okay, so I work this out. Maradon, this is why I respect my trolls, right? Let's do Maradon here. So let's say 3 hours a day. We'll round it down. 3 hours a day, 7 days a week. So that's 21 hours a week. In a year, okay, that's 1,000 hours. In the 5 years or so that I remember him watching me, that's 5,460 hours of his life, right? If you actually work that out, divide that by 24 hours in a day, that's 227 days of this man's life that he has spent watching me. So for me, that's why I don't get triggered by it. Because
justified. He loves you. He loves you. This man has
spent you got to think nearly, by the time in another 5 years, over a year, 227 days of his life watching me. I have nothing but respect for that. We have a bit of a banter and we have a bit of a laugh, but 227 days. I don't, other than my children, I don't spend that amount of time doing anything else. Like, it's crazy. It's crazy. So yeah, he loves my content. He does. Listen, people, on Maguire, do you think he's been bullied though? Generally speaking, not by trolls, by normal people, do you think he's been bullied?
No, unfortunately, what's happened here is he's not being taken out the spotlight. And I blame people like Gareth Southgate for that. I look at a player who's woefully out of form. I don't really rate that much anyway, but he's woefully out of form, has been for a long time now. And it's at the stage where, is it form or that's just how he is? You've got an England manager that keeps picking him, putting him in the spotlight for the whole nation to go, God, this guy isn't very good. And at what point do you say, do you know what? Listen, Harry, you've been a really good part of my squad, but I'm going to remove you from this so that there's no more hate and fight. So for me, no, he's just unfortunately not a very good footballer playing at the top level for Man United and England. So there's going to be a lot of criticism all the while he's picked. Bullying, I think if people got personal on him, sure. I've not seen anything other than the fact that he's not good at football. He is not a good centre-half. And it is what it is. So I don't think bullying is the one, unless I've missed something.